what Dhanuka is, and let me just talk in few lines, what Dhanuka means for us. It's one of the India's leading agrochemical organization, and agrochemical would mean chemicals, fertilizers, which includes pesticides, uh, and plant growth aggregators, and fungicides. Obviously, weedicides is also included. So we are listed by Forbes magazine in the category of 200 best billion companies in Asia Pacific. Listed with Bombay Stock Exchange and National Stock Exchange. You see our stocks already in the market. Few accolades. Forbes India awarded us in all these 3 years. Company of the Year was awarded by FICCI. Great Place to Work has been awarded year on year. Uh, you know, uh, we have a couple of other agrochemical awards to our credit. We have pan-India presence. We have 3 manufacturing units, one in Udhampur, other is in Keshwana, third is in Sanand. We have fourth unit, which is coming up in Dahej. So that will, constitute of total of 4 units that we'll have by 2021 end. We have 39 warehouses. We have 8 branch offices, 6,500 distributors, and 75,000 dealers. So we have a workforce of about 1,000 people of techno-commercial staff. Uh, we have an R&D division which is also coming up in Palwal. We have a very robust distribution mechanism, through various channels across the country. And obviously, we are able to serve about 10 million farmers through our products and services across the country through this channel. So this is brief about ourselves, and more details you can always refer to the website that mentioned above. You can refer to that and take more details. Again, talking of some of the awards that we have got and made Dhanuka what it is here, right? Uh, Not taking too much time, I would like to talk about our culture. And culture, I feel, can be concised into through 2 ways. One is that when you interact with people, you try to understand, how people speak, what language they speak, going to the basics of culture. Do they understand time? Do they are they accountable for their results? But I think every organization will have some values, and values do talk about the culture. So we have our Panchsheel value system, which really talks of our culture. And I think nothing is outside this 5 values that you'll see Dhanuka as. First is entrepreneurship. So I think all these values are very critical for you, because all of you are who are going to be associated in future with Dhanuka or currently associated would experience this on the ground. And the values are not only spoken, but even while we assess people, we see that people are exhibiting those values. People are also assessed regularly year on year on these values, and we look at these values to be delivered by people through their behaviors and actions, right? So entrepreneurship is taking initiative, displaying ownership, and having a very decisive attitude, showing enthusiasm, positive and positiveness towards the challenges. So I think this is talking very highly of what Dhanuka is. Anyone who has fire in the belly to be able to, to be able to deal with the situation, because today agro industry is in a very different phase. You'll have a lot of new areas to explore. You'll have a lot of processes to explore. You'll have to start new processes, systems, practices. So entrepreneurship becomes a very important element into our chemistry of values. And people who are showing entrepreneurship, as the definition says, are bit closer to, who are the people we target to hire. Another one is fairness. And I think we believe in respecting people, respecting not only by notion of calling their names with the respect, but respecting people also in terms of their timings, responding to people in time, Creating transparency, that means not showing something and having something else. We show what we have. Again, equality of all stakeholders. Uh, Fairness also derives our component of diversity and inclusion in the organization. Diversity not only in terms of gender, diversity in terms of ideas, diversity also in terms of we have people with disabilities in the organization. We have people with different caste creeds. We have different language people who are treated completely with respect and who are treated completely equally, right? So I think fairness talks a lot about who we are, and we expect our people to be fair. And let me tell you about the agri industry also. Today, the way we are moving, we are going into hook and corner of the country. It's very important for us to have fairness as a value for us to proceed well. Because if we are not fair, we may not be able to grab the market share and increase our profitability the way we are. Innovation is another one where we largely talk of seeking, to think out of the box. And people who have undergone the assessments with us would also know that we have a methodology where we test innovation. How you bring in new thoughts, how you bring in out of the box thinking, uh, and have a very solution oriented approach. Innovation also is very important for our industry today, looking at the industry challenges, because innovation uh, brings in new ways of doing the same thing. And people who have tried and tested over last few years, uh, you cannot replicate those practices or solutions, because today the market is, one, very competitive. Second, it's growing at a very fast rate. For you to grab more market share and to be able to give a tough competition to the players who are around in the industry, who are foreign players also, your innovation plays a very important role. Innovation not only in terms of product management, but how you want to manage your channels, how you want to manage your customers, how you want to manage your end user, how you want to manage your own people. So I think innovation in all respects that we regard. I'm also talking of excellence, and again, striving towards excellence by giving the best through one person and as a team, by creating a continuous learning experience. So I think we create learning experience for our people to be able to derive better opportunities in the market through them. And we seriously believe that you guys are coming from the colleges, you are right now coming out of the curriculums, but as we grow in the organizations like us, we'll be able to get more insights into what are learning opportunities at different phase of your careers that you need, right? Sometimes we feel that, oh, I have learned, now I'm just there to deliver, but we believe in continuous learning experience. So what we do is we also have plans to hire people through a mechanism of some assessments, so that we create uh, basic fundamental background in terms of, who are the people who enter Dhanuka. Secondly, at every stage, we have assessment centers, which helps people to identify the needs, and basis those needs, then the training is given. So a continuous learning experience customized to the need which is required by you to grow in the organization. So that is important. Again, talking of sustainability, which is a very important component, which talks of the belief in fostering mutually beneficial long-term relationship with stakeholders. We deal with stakeholders from a very long-term perspective, not only employees, but our channel partners. We believe in long-term relationships, and we set our fundamental ground around that, right? When you hire right, you'll be able to, actually grow the person long term in an organization for a long time, right? If you don't hire right, the person will either venture out or you will ask the person to leave. So if you really look at our involuntary attrition, where people we ask people to go, I think it's very small, because we hire the right people. Second, our own dealings with channel partners, other stakeholders, is also in the long term. We consider everybody a part of Dhanuka family. the stakeholders, and to move in that way. So when we hire, we take care that people have sustainability as one of the values that they have showcased also in their past. So each of these values will have certain set of behavior and actions that is downloaded to each of the employees and managers so that they could assess other people, also coach other people basis these values as fundamental principle on our building culture at Dhanuka. With the sense that I'll have questions towards the end, I'm moving ahead. Now let me talk of another subject, which is very, very critical. And I'm talking of WIFM, and I think all of you will be very interested. What's in it for me, boss? You are talking of this, but what's in it for me for Dhanuka? So we help the youngsters like you to aspire, learn, grow, and transform with Dhanuka, because we are also in transformation phase. We have been there, maybe we would have been there for 40 years now, but the journey is very, very steep. That means the kind of ask today in the market is very, very steep. So a person who has the will to, who has first of all aspiration, who has a learning agility, who's wanting to grow, and who can lead a transformation journey is the person for us. So that is the person that we are targeting to be able to lead with us in future. Now in practice, I'm just going quickly. Once inducted, you would get a responsibility and opportunity to work on a challenging project. And then there'll be job rotations through which we'll be able to packet you well with, multiple functional areas. Right? We don't want to make you a master in only one area, but we want you to be master in multiple functional areas, because at the end of it, for us, you are a young leader. We call you a young leader. We might call it a management training program, but my favorite word is young leader for this program. Our people could get support and guidance from mentors, senior leaders. And so giving right opportunities for you to get mentored by your leaders. There's a constant endeavor around this, create a mentoring program for all young people who join us. Also linking you to a buddy, because we believe that you should have one friend at work who can help you when you get lost, right? And in today's scenario, just imagine when people are joining remote, we have not even met them. A buddy like a program really helps us to, scan them through. You may have different problems in the, system. You may have different problems in the organization, but with the help of buddy, you will be able to skim through those problems fast. So we believe in buddy program. Also, it helps us in building people with common interests. A buddy will help, to gain the knowledge about your own likes, dislikes, right? So your own hobbies, right? So a buddy program really helps us to bind people together through having common hobbies and common likes, right? Individual coaching program through a structured IDB program is something, because there's a structured program. We believe in a process. We believe in a very, very structured process to be able to develop people. So that whole program will have its own intent. So like there'll be a 6 monthly intent, then there'll be a 2 years intent, then there'll be a 3 years intent, going up to 5 years, right? Till about 5 years, there is a structured approach in grooming people. Again, growth trajectories followed through training and then assessment, and then identifying assessment needs, and then moving people up, helps us to create that career path for people, right? And career path is not created only by words, but it has to be imbibed through right training and guidance to the people that we believe. Training is definitely supported in-house. We might have trainers coming from external, but the whole program is an in-house program, right? It's like an academy. When you come as a fresher, you get groomed and through an academy room. All this has been done primarily to lead the person for success in an environment like this. Because as you talk of agri industry today, because of the reasons I said, that profitability has to be high, you have to manage the growth rate on revenue, you have to be more agile in terms of knowing what your competition moves are and get more market share. At the end of it, you have to understand the whole ecosystem. You have to improve your processes. You need to have better policies. You need to have better people, right? So I think all in all, our whole point of getting this program today is to manage all these challenges and get through that through the people by creating them into this program through a holistic learning, not learning in one trade, but learning in multiple spaces, also assessing the learning needs, and then training and retraining them through all these initiatives. I'm moving ahead. So what do we want? Actually, it's our ask also. If you really see, we are also not talking of too much social, but it's our ask also, it's our need also, that we want to create a great employer brand in Dhanuka. An employer brand cannot be created by youngsters like you not talking good about us, right? So why would you talk good about us? Because you would have an experience in your own learning at the place like us. You'll be able to meet your own development and growth needs, in the space like us. So it's very important for us to develop our brand to be able to manage competitions through you. It is also very important for us to attract, motivate, and retain talent, which is you. When we hire, first of all, you should be able to, you should be able to come and ready to join us. Second, you should be able to be very motivatedly work with us. Third, you should be able to retain with us. That means we provide you development and growth opportunities so that you remain with us for long. So it's very important for us to create that brand through you, right? By getting you in and taking care of all those steps that I've talked of. I'm moving ahead. The most important part now I'm touching on is competency assessment. And I'm sure you guys understand competency because you're going through the management course yourself. If I could ask somebody, how do you define competency? I think you would have an answer like competency is knowledge, skill, and ability to do a particular job. Then I ask you, is competency different from one role to the other? You would say yes, right? Competency is different from one role to the other. That means if you do a marketing role, with a sales role, with a finance role, or HR role, the competency is completely different, right? Then I ask you, is competency different from level to the other in the same role? You say yes. If you are at a sales executive role versus sales manager role versus sales head role, the competency is different. So what we work is, competency is a very scientific tool for any organization to assimilate all this. So first you identify external challenges in terms of competition. Then you look at your own vision, where you want to grow, how you want to be next 5 years, right? Then you see what are the skills, knowledge to be able to reach there, suppose your people are in, right? So knowledge, skill, and ability for you to do a job is a competency. Now, to give you an example, if I ask you to ride a bicycle, right? I give you a knowledge about bicycle. It has 2 spokes, 1 handle, 1 seat, maybe 1 carriage, right? So I give you complete knowledge of the bicycle, which is knowledge, which you are gaining, right? Right now from your books, you have concepts, right? Second is the skill. Now I teach you how to ride the bicycle, right? So when I say put the pedal 1, then put the pedal 2, then start moving the bicycle fast, balance the bicycle, right? So I help you to learn the skill to be able to ride the bicycle. What you are doing is through interactions like this and through projects that you're doing with corporate world, you are trying to learn the skill of riding the bicycle, right? Third is ability. Now, ability, whether you can ride a bicycle after having knowledge and skill, is your ability to ride a bicycle. So the knowledge, skill, and ability to do a particular job is the competency. Competency is a very scientific tool for you to assess yourself, whether you are right for that job. Also, assess yourself in terms of what are the needs required for your job, right? It's very important. So if you really look at the challenges today in the industry, we have identified some basic competencies. I thought I should talk to you about those competencies because these are most important components which come very handy, very handy when you do your own assessments, right? And typically at Dhanuka, we follow them to the core. Let's talk about them. So the first is strategic thinking, and I'm talking of a person who's hired from a premier management colleges like you, right? Who's hired from there. What we expect? We expect a strategic thinking. Now, strategic thinking, let me define the competency for you slightly, is ability for you to develop effective strategies to achieve organization's objectives, capacity to prepare alternate course of actions, and conjure ideas that will cope with changing environment. It's very important for you to develop strategy with changing environment and your course of action and thought process. Just a moment. Sorry, there was a disturbance. So with the changing environment, how are you making the course of actions which is different? So so what happens now with your competency is your skills are typically anticipating and managing change, planning and organizing, and developing strategies. Let me tell you, these are very practically processed and experienced in the organization like us. It's not theoretical. It's been actually brought up in discussions with the leader that what kind of competencies we need for a person who's hired from a campus like yours to take on large responsibilities, right? Second is business acumen. Awareness of business environment. That means now we go outside, right? Understand the organization function and what is the impact of businesses on EBITDA, top line, bottom line. Your understanding of your business is very important. That means it tests your financial acumen. It also tests how externally you are aware. That means you are not talking only of Dhanuka. You're talking of all other organizations in this space and relative comparison with this organization and the other organizations collectively. Let's talk of result orientation also. Now, your ability to show high level of commitment driving to results is very important. Now, we all have targets. We all feel that we should achieve targets, right? But we should have the goals very clearly defined in front of us. That means we should understand and speak about our goals. We should own and deliver, and again continuously improve upon our delivery also to reach excellence. So result orientation is another competency that we really talk high from the people like you. Next is stakeholder management, and sometimes back we have talked of stakeholders, and stakeholders are anything, all the people or the channels that you have in your working relationship. So you should be able to manage good relationships with them. That means your interpersonal skills are checked, your relationship management is checked, and you should be able to communicate in the right way with them, right? And not only with respect, but with a time in mind. That means you have a turnaround time. You should have good negotiation skills to reach win-win situations. You would have read that book of Stephen Covey of 7 Best Habits, right? Of highly effective people. And one of the habits is creating win-win relationships. I take it on from there. It's a very important component that we see in your relationships. Again, customer orientation. Everybody who's sitting here in the organization across levels are thinking of who's my end user. My end user is a farmer. I start living farmer's life wherever I'm sitting, whatever functions I'm doing, not only limited to the function who's only front-ending with farmers. So every function in the value chain is connected to farmers. That is stakeholder management for us. Leadership and people development is another very, very important competency that we have on our charts. It talks of practices and processes to be able to motivate others, to be able to develop others, even to be able to retain them, right? Use their talent properly. So when you are in a starting role, you may not have a team, but you have other stakeholders and peers in your system. So we see that how you manage your stakeholders, that means how you manage your channel partners, how you manage people who are peer level, how you manage people who are in the cross department who are connected with you, so your own ability to think diverse. We talk of team diversity also. We talk of how your conflict management is, what kind of conflicts you get into. So all these tests are done in terms of questions when we hire you also. And during all annual assessments, this is also completely tested in terms of our own processes. Last but not the least, we want people with ethics and compliance. I don't need to speak a lot about it because what you do right has to be right for you and the organization. There's nothing which is in the room which is different than outside the room. All the conversations are very transparent, and you follow all compliances and norms, right? So there's nothing which stops you from not following the compliance and norm. And ethics and compliance, I'm sure you would be also having a subject which is very, very predominantly present, and you already be focusing on that piece, because I think every organization in today's space wants people to have ethics and compliance on high. So these are about 6 competencies that I talked of, which we look at people when we hire young leaders like you. I'll take the questions later. So let me talk of careers at Dhanuka and spend a little bit time on this before I go to your questions. We have challenging opportunities in business verticals, and there are multiple opportunities that we talk of, whether it is sales, whether it is marketing, whether it is project. Now we have B2B sales also. That means bulk selling mod channels, right? Where the selling competencies are very different. Where above sales I meant was more B2C sales. This is more B2B sales. And if you understand, B2C is business to consumer, and there is business to business, right? And you have supply chain, and even in management office, we have a lot of roles. So what happens is we create a mix of these roles. We might get you into sales and then move into various functions, because one needs to know what is happening in the market. And once we get people on board on sales, we'll ask them to, grow into multiple functions, take cross-function roles and grow there, and also take up roles directly at the management office. So I think we have multiple areas through which we can help you develop and grow. I'm just talking very basic of how the ladders work. And S1, S2, S3 are the senior levels. After, so frontline level is F1, which we spend about 0 to 5 years. Why I've said 0 to 5 years, a fast runner even in 3 years could move faster, right? So that's why we have a range. Then 5 to 10 years, another slab, 10 to 15 years. Technically, till you have a 15 years career, right? We define a very streamlined career for you in the organization to take up multiple roles in multiple geographies. You have cross-functional movements also. You have movements within the own function also. And then, once you have cross-functional movement, you can come and grow in that function faster. So through regular assessments, we strive to grow you fast in the organization at senior levels. And S3 level would be a head level till the time you become a head of the organization or head of the function that is part of the organization. We have a robust internal job posting process, and there's a rigorous process of assessment. I'll take you through the assessment process. Not only the qualification, but there's a case study methodology. Every person is exposed to a case study. You'll be undergoing a case study where you'll be talking about the case. We'll see how is the thought process. Competency-based assessment. We talked of those competencies. We have behavioral and technical competencies listed, and we have complete questionnaire around that competencies. Those questionnaire is produced to you either in the form of a written test, or it's produced to you through a verbal interview. There's a panel interview. That means we don't believe only one person can assess you. We take cross-functional feedback about 3 or 4 people. And till the panel has agreed, we would not hire you. We would not take you in till the time there's an agreement from the panel. And then obviously closure of your offer. So this is the process that we follow in terms of hiring. Our endeavor, and let me tell you, I have in this particular year only, about 11 strategic projects will be coming up. So we require young people who might have before their MBA would have some experience, but who are bright young people to join us and be a part of this journey along with these projects, and then take up roles post they are inducted in the organization as per this whole schematic. I did talk about the challenges. I did talk about what opportunities that we offer. Let me tell you, it's a fast growing industry. Agri-tech is a fast, and agri-tech is offering a lot of spaces in the transformation. Because today we are talking of digital learning for our farmers. We are also talking of digital learning for our own people, so that you go digital. So we have recently launched our academy, our own training academy, which is completely digital. That means it is learning on the digital space completely, and we are not meeting people, but we are getting them trained completely and assessed. So I think people with digital acumen, with technical acumen, people who have one of those competencies, and people who have fire in the belly to lead a transformation. If you are leading things from the past the way they were going, tomorrow is not going to be same. So I think people who are hired today as young leaders, if they understand this, they are good to be part of our journey with us. So with this, Krishna, I'm ending my talk because I thought it was more of a monologue. I've already taken about 35 minutes. Next 20-25 minutes, I want to spend time answering questions, being more interactive, and giving opportunities to people to also speak to me and hear their views. Over to you for that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. That was a wonderful description about what are the challenges and opportunities, especially in Dhanuka and in general in the entire agri-tech industries. Thank you so much, sir. And that too coming from the head of HR from one of the top agri-tech industries. So these students, I guess, they don't have to question anything that's happening there actually. But there are a few questions that have come up, sir. One of the questions that was written during the registration process was, one of the students has written that he is a fresher, and there are many freshers who complete their BSc agriculture and then do PGDM agribusiness management or some other program, and then they get an opportunity to work with organizations like yours. So for freshers, how they sometimes find it really difficult to adjust to a new environment, especially a work environment. Though they have done, though they would be doing their management internships after the first year, but the management internship includes a lot of field work and not a lot of interaction with team members in the entire hierarchy of the organization. So how do they adjust to that is one question. So if you could answer that.
It's a very important point, because you have two sets of students. One, students who are experienced, and I think we also very happy to induct. A lot of organizations are inducting at a lateral level, right? We have lateral hiring channels. If we have a position vacant, we go to the college and we hire people for lateral hiring. Freshers are inducted through annual process where they are taken as management trainee and trained. While the training is provided by the company, it's very important for that professional herself or himself to be able to understand how they will scale up in the organization. So I think there's no guru mantra of how this could be successful, but I think understanding the ethos of the organization is very important for anybody, to go why the organization is existing and what is it which is a course of action people need to take to be able to achieve that goal. I think that talks of complete value chain, how you're transferring value from the manufacturing facility to the end user who's the consumer, right? So I think I would say that when you understand this whole value chain, when you understand why organization exists, is most important point that a fresher when they come, they should be able to understand, because in this process, they get attuned to each value chain. Don't depend on the designed orientation and induction program. Go ahead, talk to various department leaders. Nobody can stop you once you are in the organization, right? Talk to them and understand this value chain to the core. Put it on your book that how this value chain is understood by you when the value is transferred from manufacturing to the consumer. That is point number one. My second point is on mentorship. See, mentorship is the very important subject today in today's, because when you join an organization, you don't know culturally how the organization is. How would you manage the cultural dynamics in the organization, right? Organization dynamics. So having a mentor in the organization is very important, but having a mentor outside the organization is also very important. So I would say for a fresher, you identify somebody you know from the industry to have a proper mentoring, defined mentoring program with them. And today, let me tell you, people like me and other professionals are ready to mentor people, the youngsters, and we don't charge anything. A lot of professionals don't charge anything because they already paid, by their organization. They are just doing this exercise to develop their own skills, because as a mentor, I also develop myself. But as a mentee, you get a lot of expertise from me, and I do more of social work. So a lot of people are ready to mentor. You identify a right mentor and have a very defined portfolio. I've seen people who are youngsters, who are freshers, doing very well by getting this into the mentoring program, by doing regular sessions with these mentors and doing assignments as discussed with mentors, and then proceeding well. And they have gone for 2 to 3 years, 4 years mentorship completely. So there has to be a lot of trust between a mentee and a mentor. That so you should know the person should be able to have that trust in you, and then go with your gut feel and have that. It's also good to have a mentor in the company. That's why I said that if you establish well in the company, you can go and approach a leader and advise him why do you need that person to become your mentor, and do a proper mentoring session with him. Take sessions, give it time. Don't let it be just a coffee table conversations. Make it a very define the objectives, define goals, and then help the discussion to take forward those goals and objectives into conclusive actions that you would take. So I think that's very important. Third thing, as a fresher, I think you have a lot of notions in your mind, right? Something is good or something is bad, something is right or something is wrong, because of which you lose your patience. I think the behavioral trait that you need to show is to show more patience, as a youngster, because you have to go through that journey, right? When you join as a fresher, nobody is going to put you in the boardroom to define, certain things. You'll have to work on the ground in the field to be able to understand that end user. So I think that patience to be able to go through that whole cycle of learning, each step that you go. So what I tell and coach people is live those steps, don't pass those steps for the next step, right? Don't look at the next step, look at that step to live before you go to the next step. So I think it's very important for you to live that journey completely. And let me tell you, people who have lived that journey with ease have had a very good learning experience as management trainees and have scaled themselves for growth in future and have taken up large roles. Unlike people who are getting very impatient, either change jobs. The impatience means either you get very ruffled in your current job, then you have behavioral issues with other people, especially the people who are seniors who will have more experience than you. Other is that you start changing jobs, you get very, very vulnerable and start moving very fast, which also damps your learning. So be very patient in that learning, create that learning curve and very defined goal that 3 years I'm going to learn in this space to be there where I am, right? That goal needs to be defined. So this ABC methodology should be able to help you to be effective And that's been basis my own experience with some of the youngsters that I have groomed, and I see them growing as senior professionals in various industries, and even my own experience when I've mentored people under me. I hope I could answer the question.
Yes, sir, that was perfect. Actually, the ABC methodology. I don't know if there is, if it is written anywhere, or we could call it the Vikas K Khoka method. There are a lot of questions that youngsters normally ask specifically to the HRs as to what are some of the specific skills that they are looking in them. That's what we also ask the companies when we talk to them with regards to placement opportunities. That what are some of the specific skills that they're looking? Do you think that the skill set keeps changing from company to company? And if yes, what are some of the specific skill sets that youngsters should have when they join an organization like Dhanuka or any other leading agri-tech company in India?
So, like answering your question in 1, 2, or 3 steps that you have asked me, one is that skills do change, because competencies are changing from organization to organization. Like I said, that competency changes, so skill changes, right? But largely when I talk of few behavioral skills, and today I talked of this and I'm again flashing it out to you here. When I talked about this here, the skills that are written here on the right hand side of the pillars and skills are largely common across all functions, right? When you talk of, you know, A, B, C, D, E, F, six heads of this, you'll have largely common skills which I use. So I think what you need to do is straight away get into the competency modeling, understand how these skills could be exhibited by you, what you need to do to be able to exhibit those skills and get them going in terms of your behavior and actions. Because always remember that your behavior and action actually defines who you are, right? People will not be able to read here what is going on here till the time you speak, right? Till the time you deliver, right? So your behavior and action have to talk of those skills that I just called out, and those are typically common set of skills, but it's good to get hold of. And I'm saying that it may not be readily available, but you can get hold of competencies, right, of any organization, a list of behavioral leadership competencies. Say, pull out leadership competencies and see what skills are required, desired in those competencies. Again, look at values of the organizations, what behaviors are required in those values. I think once you understand this, you can assimilate your own behavior that you would exhibit to others in the organization. And that's a basic ground to run on the skills part.
So one more question has come up, wherein few of the students want to know that when they do either internships or jobs, they sometimes find it really difficult to open up with some of the senior staff members. They have certain thoughts and ideas. They find it slightly difficult, or they're apprehensive to open up. So what guidance would you like to give them?
Can I tell you frankly, when I started my career, even I was like that. So there's nothing, first of all, nothing abnormal in thinking that I am scared, because a lot of senior leaders are also scared and they prepare before the meeting, right? So preparation is the answer to that. When we go, just imagine, had you gone for a college exam unprepared, right? How did you feel, right? When the examination paper was in front of you? Did you go for a Viva Voce or an interview unprepared? How did you feel? Versus how would you feel when you went prepared, right? So I think most of us don't prepare for meetings. I think I would say that let's start preparing for the meetings. Let's start preparing for each and every meeting that we enter with our seniors. If we are prepared, we anticipate, okay, these are the 3 questions I need to ask, or these are the 3 questions I need to ask, or these are the 3 answers I need to give to the questions that may be asked, right? Think through and make your own diary of preparation. Do that thorough preparation before the meeting that you are talking of. And I'm sure that fear is going to die down, but always remember the person who's sitting across you, who's a senior guy, is also in that same fear. It's not that that person is very confident. He may look confident, but the fear psychosis work like that, right? To kill the fear, get the preparation done.
Thank you so much, sir. So even the first time when we did such talks and it was a new thing for me, I also had a lot of fear. But when I started doing it, now I'm slightly more comfortable. So
Look, you're supporting my answer.
yeah. Is there anyone who would like to ask a question? They can unmute, introduce themselves and ask. If not, I will ask. There are a few other questions that have come up. So is there anyone?
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Ravi Shankar. I am a student of MBA Agribusiness first year at Sam Having University of Agriculture, Technology and Science, Prayagraj. Sir, I would like to know how to approach the company for the internship, being an MBA student, sir, officially on the college level.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ravi Shankar. We understood your question. Sir, did you understand or should I repeat for you?
No, I think I've got the question that how internship could be approached by a student.
Yes.
Now, there are two ways that you do it. One is you have a defined mechanism of summer internship and winter internship. And, you have a timeline defined where your college is either approached by these organizations, or colleges also approach organizations and get the internship done through college campuses. Other is also getting in touch with various leaders in your own networking and identifying what are the current challenges which are happening, right, with them. And those challenges could have connotations of action points through projects. I'll talk of one winter intern I've taken. I took in the month of February, and this person is interning till April. Now, February and April is no time for interning. The person is also studying in a college in the second year MBA. But the person is interning with me on a live project, and I've been able to give a very right mentorship to that particular person through that intern. And this happened when the person approached us, and we also had the project, and then we approached the campus and tied up the person to be able to do this project with us for 4 months. So I think your own networking will really help. Don't think that a lot of people like you are also going in the market. You could be very unique, right? Your own unique ability to be able to pitch your strengths and development needs, because your strengths is very important. Why would you be taken for that intern as an intern, right? How your past projects or past experience of whatever nature, right, you have is relevant for that particular project, can help you get through there. And I'm sorry if I don't have a right or wrong answer to this. This is the best approach you could take. Alternatively, definitely the approach through your own college, reaching the organizations and creating that proper internship program, right, where people are sent to the colleges for those 2 months. But I think your own networking can help you to do internship anytime. When you are on your job, when you are studying also, you can do an internship, and that's a great learning, because whatever you learn through that internship, you can actually link it to your own concepts that you're studying at the college. So I think no right and wrong answers. These are few approaches that you could undertake. And today in social media world, it's very easy to network with people, to get through people, but with the right intent. If you go and ask people job opportunity, and when you're going for internship, then it's wrong. So go with the right intent of learning. I think learning has no stoppage. Learning has no full stop from anybody. Any one of the leaders like us will be happy to make you learn. Another way to take internship is through mentorship. I told you, make an industry leader a mentor of yours, and then start working with that leader to be able to identify opportunities, right? How you could seek opportunities, and it's through that leaders networking also you could get. Be a part of a lot of forums. There are a lot of groups today. It's a social networking era, and you can be part of those groups and still make yourself visible in those groups. Get to know of opportunities, approach them, right? So no right or wrong. These are the various approaches you could take to be able to reach there. I hope I could do justice to your question, Ravi.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Actually, you mentioned 2 points. which are part of my next question, basically questions that have come up from students. You mentioned about building a network and you mentioned social media. Now, I would like to ask, LinkedIn is a very powerful tool when it comes to networking as well as presenting yourself to the entire ecosystem. So how effectively should youngsters use LinkedIn? If there is any pointers you would like to give?
A few of the pointers is LinkedIn is used for what purpose is very important. You should be very clear, right? Now, I like somebody approached me yesterday, asked me, can I have a job in your organization? And it's very, very crystal and clear, right? I said, no, right now I do not, or, this is the channel. I have my recruitment team. I forward the resume there. So I think I like when people are straight forward on LinkedIn rather than putting things round and round. So social media is a media which is also having an eyeballs time very less, right? We are very busy people, right? We are day in, day out, we are in calls now on the screen, right? Entire day. Very difficult for me to get on the screen and my eyeballs. So crisp message, a crisp communication with top 2 or 3 highlights why you should be considered, right? For that opportunity or for that proposition that you're making or the proposal that you're making is very important. And again, Krishna, this is a skill you constantly need to develop to be able to showcase how you can create an eyeballs towards you. And when you write a long sentence, a very long essay, nobody has time to read that, right? When you put 2 or 3 pointers very crisp in terms of why that person should look at you, I think makes really sense. So identify those top 3 USPs that you are carrying, right, which will pull the eyeballs towards you. Call only that, right? If a red color pulls an eyeball, call the red color, right? Why would you call a white color? Right? So what I'm trying to say that try to be very crisp and concise in your communication and do that. Networking on social media also requires you to exhibit learning. So if you have a flair for writing, write good articles, do some research, which can be very, very helpful for some of the very senior people like us, right? We are facing a lot of issues day in, day out. A person like you sitting in the campus can do a research. Why not? We'll be love to take it, forward in terms of, and that will be very meaningful. And let me tell you, all these articles which are written on LinkedIn and other social media are also read through very well. And the best part about social media is that it is not time bound. Like today, I'm delivering to you this talk. It's time bound to this 1 hour. That means somebody has to log at 3 and to end at 4 to be able to listen to me. But suppose this whole pattern is anytime you could read it, anytime you can go through it. So your articles, your written material can be read by anybody anytime, right? So use those medias to be able to come across, not only directly conversing with people there, right? Talking about, facts, getting facts together on the table and then presenting them through the social media. Visuals is very, very important because visuals appeal you, right? Visual appeal you. So create more visuals, I think you guys are very, very creative. So you have multiple modes to come across through social media and make it so relevant. Use your voice tags, use your other skills to be able to make it so visually active that the eyeballs are caught. And then once your content is heavy, it will always be read. So have that patience, it will always be read. We also do a lot of reading through social media content, right? My last word is on LinkedIn learning. Use that a lot because every subject has a lot of learning by very, very experienced trainers. Any subject that you pick, suppose you pick, I want to develop my brand, right? Employee value proposition. Pull out employee value proposition from the LinkedIn learning. So you may have to subscribe to it. But LinkedIn learning will bring you maybe 10 different topics on which the talks have been done and very well assimilated into a thorough learning into conceptual understanding and practical insights from the industry. So LinkedIn learning also becomes very handy for youngsters like you to be able to get through.
Thank you so much, sir. I think so we'll just take one last question, but Mr. Govindu You have raised your hand. Is there
Yes,
something
sir.
you would like to ask?
Yes, sir. I want to ask a question. Sir, firstly, good evening to the Vikas sir, and I'm feeling very pleasure to join this session and to know the valuable things from the sir. I just want to ask that sir said one word, and I was very much like that word. Like he said, the future is not going to be the same as today. Yes, sir, and it is definitely the 100% truth. And I want to ask you that how Dhanuka is planning to be different, but not the same as today, while compared to the other leading companies in the agriculture, and how the freshers like me can grab the opportunities in the company.
Thank you so
So,
much.
Yes, sir.
thank you, Govindu,
Thank you.
for
Thank you so much.
such a very. I really like the question because I think every leader is going through this philosophy of changing and transformation. So, let me talk of digital transformation that we are doing through farmers, because farmers are in all our minds are very sitting very remote. They are not updated of technology. They are far away from us. We are trying to bring them closer to technology, making them aware of uh, new molecules or new products which we are introducing, new technologies which are which will help their own plants to grow right better. So I think which will increase their own productivity through digital media. So we are creating a complete channel from here to the end user, which is farmer, and completely create digital by converting first our distributors into digital, getting new distributors who are very digitally savvy, getting retailers who are digital, and then going directly to farmers and educating them on our product on the media. So certain digital platforms have been created where we live cast our product features directly to at the beginning of the season to the farmers, right? So digital technology immersion is one way. Our second way is transforming internally, right? We are changing a lot of processes, removing redundancies in processes so that we can deliver fast. We can deliver the technology faster, right? So all process re-engineering is also part of our transformation at Dhanuka. My third point is very, very important point, and that's the most critical point, is introducing new technologies in the industry. So we are globally researching, getting new molecules introduced. So our first molecule manufacturing plant is being set up at Dahej. Now till now we are importing molecules from outside. Now we'll be manufacturing these molecules. A lot of other agri-tech companies will be buying these molecules from us and creating their own products. So this is the way we are backward integrating also, but creating an innovative research center in Palwal to be able to do a research around what technologies we need for future growth of the farmers is also an important area. So these are multiple ways of transformation that we are doing to be able to scale up. And let me tell you very proudly that next 5 years, you see Dhanuka in a completely different space, right? Because we were right now in only the product profiles, but now we are getting to molecule profiles also. Plus, with this digital immersion and process re-engineering, we'll be able to reach many more customers that we are not being able to do today. And by force, pandemic, which has happening today, has helped us to get across to people faster through these technologies. People who are not ready to embed these technologies today have accepted that. And so is our industry. So this is the way we are in our own transformation journey.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. We will end the questions here because of lack of time. We are really thankful to Vikas sir for giving out 1 hour of his valuable time, because I can understand he must be extremely busy and extremely fed up of having regular virtual meetings. I know it is quite tiring, so he has taken out this 1 hour time. Thank you so much, sir. On behalf of Food and Agribusiness School, which is part of Saga Group of Institutions, Hyderabad, I would like to thank you. And I would like to welcome you to our campus, which is located in a rural setup. It's around 40 kilometers from the center of Hyderabad. It's in a place called Chevella. So whenever you get an opportunity and whenever the situation is much better, I would like you to visit our campus and see and meet our students, our faculty members, and everyone. Uh, Again, last few motivating words from you for our youngsters.
Sure. So I think first of all, thank you for inviting me here, and it was not a tiring session like other digital sessions which I have. It was very nice to see a lot of youngsters. I'm started feeling younger today, right? We talk to very old people, right? Today I'm talking to younger generation. It's helping me. Second, our regional office is our major regional office is in Hyderabad for South and East. So it will be an opportunity for me. Once things go okay, I'll come and travel. My few words are always work on your development. Always think where I am, think where I want to be. What am I doing today and what I should be doing? I think the gaps that you identify, keep working on them. Never stop your development. Don't get into complacency that I know it all. I need to develop to be able to grow there because world is moving very fast. If you don't catch up, you will be left behind. So I think every moment, and this is a learning for me and Krishna, you also, I think all of us need to continuously keep us learning, right? Find new opportunities to learn. Don't think things will flow on their own. Seek those opportunities and get them across us, and continuously develop us and match up to what future has to offer us by catching that up through this exercise.
Thank you, sir. And thank you all the participants for joining. See you for our next similar SGI talk. We will keep you updated. You can follow us on our LinkedIn page, Facebook, Twitter, as well as our YouTube channel. Thank you so much, sir, once again. Bye, sir. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks, Krishna, and thanks to everyone. And please stay safe with your families. Safety is the best precaution you could take in today's era. So wish you all the safety for you and your family members.